Concubines is someone you can use for whatever you need to do, but your wife is the one you, let me tell you, this is what was taught. Okay? And see, this is why when people listen to all these different groups out there that sound like they out of their mind, talking about they're going to rape people and kill people, this is what they teach. When you got some guy like they're teaching, listen, I got a white concubine, I got a Chinese concubine, because in their mind, these are just women that they're dealing with. They're just meat, but I got my wife that, you know, that the Most High blessed me with. And this is what they'll say to you. And see, and this is the reason sisters are adamantly fighting against the whole thing. Because this is what sisters have to contend with. When brothers go on YouTube and go in these different areas and all that and start studying, these are the things that they're being taught to these brothers. And then they, just like the brothers may call us up and all that, they call these other guys up too. And these guys be telling them, yeah, brother, you can get 3, 4. This is what you got. You don't even have to work. Get 3, 4. They can work. Brother, you need to be sit. You know, this is the teachings that have nothing to do with scriptures. And this is why people are so much, this is adamancy about it. One moment. Go ahead.
This is verse 4. For it came to pass when Solomon was old, that his wives turned away his heart after other gods.
Go ahead.
His heart was not perfect with the Most High his power, as was the heart of David his father.
Go ahead.
For Solomon went after Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Sidonians.
So these women started teaching him, weaken him, and began to teach him to worship different gods. That was the fall of the children of Israel. And because of this, the kingdom was split. So how can they use this as an example? All right. Now, here's the scripture before we go into the New Testament. Here's the scriptures that people might get confused with. Well, before I go that, let's go to the law if a man takes another wife in Exodus. A concubine is still a wife. Okay? She's still a wife, but she's considered a wife, a concubine type of wife. She's not an Israelite type of wife. She's not of the same nation. It's still wifing a woman. Oh, okay, all right. Go ahead. Let's go to Exodus 21 and 10.
Exodus chapter 21 verse 10.
Go ahead.
It says, if he take him another wife.
If a man take him another wife.
Her food, her raiment, and her duty of marriage should not diminish.
Read it again.
If he take him another wife.
Now this was the law. If a man was to take another wife in the Old Testament. Read.
Her food, her raiment, and her duty.
Her food, her raiment. Read.
And her duty of marriage.
And her duty of marriage. That means your commitment to her and the things that she need.
Shall he not diminish.
Shall he not diminish. Which means there can be no fall off at all. If this man could take on another wife. Now imagine what a Hebrew man needed to have before he could actually take on another wife. You have to be almost rich beyond belief to have 2 houses, 2 cars, and making sure everyone is taken care of, and there's total peace throughout the whole thing. That's impossible, especially in this day and time in which the power has been shifted, in which the women make more than men. Now, how can a man provide these things for 1 woman, let alone 2, in these days and times?
Verse 11.
So it's not that you got 2 wives, you got a wife, and then you got 2 accomplices, or 3 or 4 accomplices. That's what it comes down to. All right. So when the brethren look at certain things, when people come and say, okay, we together, all right, brother, let me see the paperwork of the father and the agreement you made with the father. That's how it should be. And then if the guy do have all these things, then we look at Sarah as an example of, we need a scenario to say that, okay, you needed to do this. What is the scenario there? You know, she couldn't have children, or what's the scenario there? If you want to look at the scripture term and show an example of the reason why a man would pick up another wife. Read that again.
Verse 10. If he take him another wife, her food, her raiment, and her duty of marriage.
Her food, raiment, and duty of marriage.
Shall he not demand?
Read.
Verse 11. And if he do not these things unto her.
And if he don't do these things to her to make sure everything is right, read.
Then shall she go out free without money.
She can go out free, separated from this man without money. She can go ahead and live her life separate, because it can't happen. The agreement was to come together to make sure she was fine. So now you still have only 1 woman. You just don't have the one you had. She's free from you. Because you cannot provide all these duties, especially in a day of austerity. And you have some people, they can be living in their mother's basement talking about they got 2, 3 wives. Okay? And I'm just giving you some examples. Here's a scripture that brothers, that some people get conscrewed. Get Isaiah the 7th chapter.
As well.
Yes.
In taking this law, for example, is there any examples where we can answer whether the woman, the first wife, has to sort of be in agreement? Is there any scriptures? So say if a man wanted to take another wife, it's a joint decision. Would that be correct? Or
what the example was, that it must be an agreement, is Abram and Sarah.
Right.
You understand?
Because a lot of men obviously think
it's down to. Now I'm going to tell you this too, because I'm going to go to the other side of this. Because you might have some sisters who've been dealing with some weird stuff growing up, who now seek an opportunity to want to bring another sister up in her bedroom. Some of that be going on too, where she be like, yeah, you want another woman? Because she want another woman. And now I hate to talk about these things, but that's for real. That's for real. And she'll come and say, yeah, it look like you need another wife. Look like you've been struggling. I need some help around the house here. When really, she want to dabble a little bit.
Another example to touch on what Josh just asked, the same thing that happened with Abraham and Sarah. The same exact thing happened with both Rachel and Leah when they agreed to give their handmaids to Jacob to bring forth some of the 12 tribes.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that was a total agreement. Because, listen, you think Leah didn't know that Rachel's supposed to have been first? She went with it because she knew not only the blessings of this man, because let me tell you, they can tell a blessing when he come around. The whole place was blessed. She was like, man, everyone loved Jacob. So she agreed. And Leah didn't use that as a situation. Leah was upset. I mean, Rachel was upset. Because the whole time he was courting Rachel. But she didn't use that as a pretext to get bitter and say, well, I don't want this man. It's like, no, that's my man. I'm going to wait another 7 years, and you know, I'm going to bring forth children for this man. He's going to love me. I'm going to love him, and I'm not going to let this situation stop it. But that was the culture. That was the understanding. The majority of things we fight against in our society is our programming. So I can admit that I've been programmed a certain type of way and not use that to look at the scriptures and claim, well, that scripture must not be saying that. No, your programming won't allow you to receive what you're seeing here. It was the culture that separated us from the righteousness of certain things that happened, but it was done in righteousness. Sisters are adamant against it because what's the chance of a man operating with righteousness? With nothing, and you don't have nothing. It's impossible. So now you just brought forth another problem. That's just we have problems already. Now you got another problem we all have to take care of. You understand? And that's why sisters like, well, I don't want to deal with this. We got problems already and we have nothing, and you're going to bring another person in the equation? So the society, the societal structure of what they've given us in the Western world won't allow us to do this and be able to fulfill the law accordingly. It's almost impossible. Now, I'm not going to sit there and say that something is unlawful that the Bible have a law on. But we still have to speak in common sense terms too. You understand? And I think some people were asking, well, why haven't we been touching this? Because there's no win on either side. I can explain it and break it on down, but at the end of the day, people are going to do what they're going to do. But now, if we put out a team out there, at least they can't do it and claim the church have been backing it up. That we're going to give the wisdom on both sides of this. We're going to give the wisdom on both sides of this. All right. We'll show the wisdom on both sides and then show what it said in the New Testament. All right. All right, read on.
This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 4, verse 1. And in that day, 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying.
Many Hebrews bring this out too. Saying that, see, I can have 7 wives. Well, you're missing the key point. Read that again.
In that day.
Are we in that day? The answer to that, absolutely not. And you know what? We'll be blessed as men to make it to this day. Because the only reason women are agreeing to this now is because there's a shortage of men due to the destruction of Jacob's trouble. Now, it's not the men going out looking for women. It's the women saying, well, listen, come on in. My husband will make sure you okay. We need more people to survive to get to the next day. You bring what you bring and let's pull this together. This is not a man going out saying, well, you know, going out to some gathering saying, well, yeah, she looked nice. Or I got another wife. This ain't that type of situation here. It's going to show you what that day is. Read.
Saying, we will eat our own bread.
Now they're set because according to Exodus, the food, shelter, and raiment cannot diminish if you take on a wife. So they say, well, listen, I don't need you to physically take care of me. I'm okay on that end. You don't got to worry about making sure I got bread. Read.
And wear our own apparel.
You don't have to clothe me. I'll take care of that myself. But